And I just realized my mic was muted. Let me do that again. Welcome, everyone, to another exciting adventure on the energy that surrounds us. I'm your host, Michael, and tonight's guest is making her second appearance on the show. I am super excited about that, and we are going to delve into some old topics in a new way and some new topics. So, you guys are in for a huge treat. She has had a few things popping up lately that we may or may not get to get information about. It depends on what she can and cannot talk about. Gotta love the paranormal field.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, I am going to turn it over to the one, the only Sasquatch extraordinaire, paranormal, unbelievable Michelle Heaton.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Thank you. I'm glad to be back. This is awesome.
So, for those, well, I was going to say, for those who haven't, well, they can just watch the last episode you were on for your intro. You want to
Mhm.
just jump right into what's been going on with you?
Yeah, I guess. So let's see. Since the last episode, I took a trip. Oh my gosh, I took a trip. I took my daughter down to New Orleans for the winter, and that was fun. Lots of weird stuff going down in New Orleans. It was really heavy. The air there, it's really heavy. The energy is it's a lot of stuff going. I don't know how to explain it. It's a lot of stuff going on there. Kind of dark, dark energy. And we were there for a month, and we were staying in an area where when Katrina had hit, it had devastated the neighborhood. And my friend, he's a friend from when I was younger, like high school age, and his wife and their kids, they lived there. They bought the house right after Katrina hit, and he has a construction business, so he renovated it. It needed renovation. And as soon as I got there, I actually, on my way down there, it was really interesting because I had a friend who passed away about 10 years ago when I was pregnant with my daughter. And she comes and goes to me. She comes mostly in my dreams, like all the other mediumship experiences that I have. I always have them when I'm sleeping. And I was in the car and I was going through Arizona, and I remember I felt hands on my shoulders. And so I knew that somebody was with me. So I said, "Who's with me?" Because at first I thought maybe it was my grandma, because she shows up a lot especially when I'm driving. And instantly, my friend Angel is her name. Her favorite song came on the radio, and it was like way out of left field. It was like, um, it's the song Patience by Guns N' Roses,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
and really random. Like they don't play that on the radio all the time. And so that came on, and I was like, instantly, I was like, Angel. Well, it was kind of funny because the guy that I'm going down to Louisiana to see is her ex-boyfriend. So I guess she decided that she wanted to come with me, and she was there with me the whole time I was there. Um, I got down there and I was there for a couple of days, and I would hear voices at night when I was sleeping up in one of the rooms. I was upstairs in this room that didn't have any windows or anything. Like I said, they renovated it, and it used to be like a balcony, and they enclosed it, and made it into an extra bedroom. And I would hear voices in the middle of the night. And then I would walk through the house. And one day I was walking through the house and I heard a slam. And I turned around and looked. and there was a picture laying right in the middle of the floor. And so I walked back and I looked up at the wall, and the picture it had to have flown off the wall. Like it didn't, it had the sticky stuff on the back of it. It wasn't hanging on a nail. You know, it had the sticky stuff. And so instead of sliding down the wall, like, you know, gravity would, you know, uh,
Right.
make it fall, it flew, I would say about 6 feet off the wall and landed right in the center of the hallway. So it kind of did like this kitty corner kind of at an angle 6 feet off the wall into the hallway. Um, that happened. And then there's other really weird things. We celebrated Yule. And during Yule, you know, you have to write notes to people who have passed. And then you tie them to the Yule log and you burn them. And that's how they get their messages, you know. And so I had written my notes to my grandma and some other people. And I wrote one to Angel. And we tied them all to the Yule log, and we're burning the Yule log. We're having a good time. I don't drink or do drugs or anything like that. So, you know, most everybody was sober. I was sober. And so I'm sitting there and, you know, I'm just being my bubbly self and I'm telling jokes and everybody's laughing. And it was really funny because whenever I would tell a joke, I could hear Angel, and she had this most distinctive laugh. She would throw her head back and she'd go, and every time I would tell a joke, I would hear her laugh. And I'd look over at Jason and I'd be like, are you hearing this? And he's like, hearing what? You know, I'm like, nobody else could hear it but me. But it was awesome. So in retrospect, I got to spend Christmas with my best friend.
What
So
it's
that,
all about.
yeah, it was really, really cool. It was really awesome. So that kind of made me feel a little bit better about being in New Orleans, because New Orleans was for me, it was just a little more intense than what I'm used to. You
It
know,
is.
like the lighter energy is really what I, you know, enjoy being around. So
I think it's the energy of all the different religions, I guess you could say, or faiths,
yeah.
intermixed with a huge amount of history. And so all of that is just mixed together. And then you add in the hurricanes
Hmm.
that come ripping through too, and adding that energy. It's like, yeah, it's like a vortex of just
Hmm.
endless mixture of all kinds of who knows what.
And that's exactly what it felt like too. It was just a mixture of everything. I could literally be walking down the French Quarter and I can feel this and I can feel that. And then I'm like, ooh, and I can feel it in my stomach and then feel it in my head. It was in my heart, even, you know, it was just a big mixture of energy for sure.
And what always cracks me up is Las Vegas is known as the city of sin. And I'm like, I actually was one evening in New Orleans before a conference I was at on the outside of New Orleans. So we were walking up and down one of the streets back and forth because we didn't go very far. But I'm watching and I was like, this I think is really the true city of sin because I just see random people and they will just lift their shirts up and adjust everything. And I'm like, what in the world? You're just letting everybody on the street see you do this and nobody seems to care. They're all like, whatever.
Yeah, pretty much. I was kind of
And it
surprised.
wasn't Mardi Gras.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, they were telling me what happens during Mardi Gras. I wanted to take Pema, my daughter, you know, and she just turned 10. And I thought this is going to be really fun for her. And they're like, oh, this happens and this happens. And I was like, me.
Yeah.
We'll leave a little early. We had other places to go. So
Say that till she's older, if you're going to take her
yes,
there.
exactly. Yeah. So yeah, so we went up to Tennessee, and that was really cool because I got to do some bigfooting up there. Um, I met Daniel Benoit, and then who's from Ekbro, um, and he lives in Virginia. And then I stayed with my friend Michelle Caldwell in Kingsport, Tennessee, and she's a Bigfooter. And so we did some research down in Cherokee National Forest, down by Gatlinburg,
Mm-hmm.
and we found some incredible structures that were like structures. These trees were huge, and they were over a road. They were massive. There's no way, like, you would probably need to use some kind of pulley system or crane or something to create these. And so I got some really good pictures of those. And it was weird because we drove underneath one of them, and instantly it was just like pressure in your head, almost like going into another dimension or through a portal or something. It was really weird. It was just this weird pressure, kind of um, maybe even like infrasound. It was like, ooh, it was really cool. Um, yeah, and then we found some pretty cool structures in Virginia, and that was fun. That was a really fun time. It's super active over in Appalachia.
Yeah, I was in Arkansas, and we were finding like little, like, there would either be like, here's the ground, and it would be like stones stacked in a little arc.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, that's not natural. And they go, no, a Bigfoot did that. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then you would see the trees crossing, and I can't believe I never thought of this until you were describing your story about the trees. I have never seen where it's a true Bigfoot X crossing where the trees have been broken. It's like they naturally bend in. And so I can't help wondering, how does a Bigfoot manipulate the tree to get that bend without breaking it?
Yeah, really. I mean, the ones that we've seen those a lot, the ones that bend. The one that we found in Cherokee National Forest that went over the road, they were pushed over. They were still in the ground. The root system was pulled up on all three of the trees. And it was like the one on this side, they were pushed down and then they were crisscrossed, and then the one on the other side of the road was pushed in and was holding these two up. It was the weirdest thing. And I mean, I would think if they did it physically, there would have to be two or three of them there manipulating, on each side of the road, manipulating those trees. It was so weird.
It almost sounds like a teepee.
Yeah, that's what it looked like. It looked like a teepee, but it was over the road. And it was with these trees that were like at least 30 feet tall. And they were, like I said, they were still in the ground. They were just, the root system was kind of pulled up a little bit, and they were facing inward. So, it wasn't wind or anything. If it was wind, they would all be pushed over the same way, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah. So
And
they had to bend across from each other and just, you know.
yeah, when I was in Arkansas, they would say the X was a portal that they would use. And I was like, in my mind, I was like, I don't know. I could feel it, but could it be, And I was thinking that little arc of stones. I was
Mhm.
like, maybe that's the real, portal, and the trees is just a marker to say, hey, the portal's over here, like an X marks the spot kind of thing, as we call it in treasure maps.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, how would a Bigfoot, though, fit through that little arc? And then I was like, well, we're assuming he's always big. They could be a manipulation of our gravity and our density that they become really tall and they're actually short beings where they come from.
Yeah. Like think about it like this. Like um the second sighting that I had of a Sasquatch, when it appeared from the feet up. So it just went like a hologram. It was like whoop. And so it started at the feet and then it just went up until he was like 10 feet tall. So when he disappeared, sorry, I have allergies. So, but when he disappeared down into a like an orb. So if he disappears and he turns into an orb and then the orb kind of dissipates and it sparkles and kind of disappears, then are they traveling through these portals as orbs? You know, because lots of people have described these orbs before and we see them all the time up at Quartzville, and they always seem to be, they're correlated with Sasquatch somehow, because it seems like when I have a sighting or one night Eric had a sighting, we were also seeing orbs or lights, you know.
You just brought up an interesting point because as you're talking about them as being orbs, I was like, look at our fantasy sci-fi, like the wizard movies. How
Yeah.
do a lot of the wizards travel? They become a ball of energy, and
Mm-hmm.
when they arrive, there's like this big grandiose appearance, and it's like, yeah, they make a grand entrance, and they're
Hello.
like, oh, I'm here. Okay, I arrived, and it's and
Yeah.
you look
I
at
mean,
other,
there's so many reports of them.
yeah. So my curious question for you, being that you live in Squatch country, when you went to Tennessee, doing it, was the energy the same? Was it different? Was like, were there differences and you think it's because it's Tennessee versus where you live?
I've thought about that a lot actually, because the energy is different. At least it was for me. Um, it seemed to be much more over in Tennessee. So I'm thinking maybe perhaps there's different types of Sasquatch, and they could have different things, like maybe some of them travel as orbs through portals, maybe some of them travel as, ball lightning or something else, you know what I mean? It wasn't the same. It wasn't the same feeling. And I know that over here in Quartzville, because it's kind of like, I feel like they're kind of like my tribe. They're like my clan. I feel related to them in some way. The energy is much more loving and kind. Whereas over there, it's kind of edgier. You know what I mean? And maybe it was just because I wasn't home, but I felt like I was a stranger there. You know what I mean? They didn't know me.
And also, there's the fact of when you're at home, you're going in the mountains and you're like caretaking their land with them, and so you're connected to the land there. And so in Tennessee, you don't have that connection and or maybe grounding like you do at home is a better term. And so that could be why it seems different. And going back to the portal idea of where the trees, crossing our portals, it often makes me wonder, is there like a genetic code or marker, because how many people walk around those X's or walk through those X's? Nothing happens. But a Sasquatch is able to travel through. So, how does it know a Sasquatch from a normal human?
Yeah, does it know or does Sasquatch know how to use it? You know?
Yeah.
Because Sasquatch are on a different I'm convinced they're on a different frequency. So, if that's the case, then they would know how to be interdimensional. You know what I mean? So they would know how to use the portal. They would know how to live in the forest and manipulate energy and everything else, you know?
See, everybody, I would always talk about this a long time ago when I was first getting in the paranormal, of the fact that nobody has a clear photo of Sasquatch,
Mhm.
or there's no, like, you can't go and say, oh, here's Sasquatch's home. And I would say, because they're not from here, they're from somewhere else and they're visiting us. And why they would choose to visit our world right now, I don't know. But,
I know.
uh, and
Mhm.
you think about it, and I even said to somebody, those photos where it's blurry, portals are energies. So if you have one energy here, one energy here, there's this field pulsating between the two.
Mhm.
That's why when you see him blurry, is it because he's in that field and he's like phasing in and out, and that causes the blurry photo. And somebody was like, that is way too scientific. I
Yeah, but
don't know about that,
that's
but
I mean, that's what it is, though, it's science, you know? So I believe that. I also believe that. I believe that's why all of our pictures are blurry because they are not fully here, you know? There's something about their energy that, makes it blurry.
and I was reminded of something the other day, and you might be a perfect person to ask this because you're living near there. You're not at Yellowstone, but you're close to there. When the fires happened there and went through I think the latest one, I was hearing reports in underground news that military was called in because they were airlifting bodies out, but it wasn't the humans that they were airlifting out. It was Sasquatch. And so I'm curious, did you hear that and or see anything similar to that or have any knowledge around that?
It sounds like you might be referring to the eruption at Mount St. Helens back in the
That
80s.
could be it.
So I have a friend who will remain nameless, who he claimed that he was contracted by the government to basically take evidence. He's casting prints, he is collecting evidence of any kind of Sasquatch activity during this eruption that happened during the eruption. And while he's doing this, he's witnessing several Sasquatch bodies being lifted, one per helicopter, because you have to remember they're very, very heavy. And helicopters, they can be thrown off by the amount of weight that they're carrying. So these helicopters are carrying these one Sasquatch at a time out of the area. And I can't remember how many he said he saw, but there was many. Um, but he was supposedly a witness to this. And then when his assignment was over, they confiscated all of his stuff. He had logs and journals and just everything you could imagine. They absolutely cleaned out his rental car. So there was nothing left in it except for what he came with, his wallet, his watch, his phone. And I think actually he had said, no, not his phone. Um, it was something else. Uh, but, anyways, they had taken everything that he had brought with him and, you know, like made sure that he didn't have any evidence on him, nothing in his pockets, kind of shook him down and then let him go and just made him sign. I think there was a non disclosure agreement or something like that. And it was him, and there was another woman also in the community who was involved that he named. Um, so, yeah, I mean, that's what the story is. I don't know if it's true, but
And another thing that would point to the theory that Sasquatch isn't living here is when we think about Sasquatches are, I'm going to round off to saying 7, 9 feet tall. And like you're saying, heavy. But yet, footprints are rarely found. So, how can a heavy, tall object be walking around leaving no footprints?
well, let me tell you. So, in the Pacific Northwest, there's several different kinds of ground type, right? The first one is there's a lot of like rocky, gravelly kind of, and clay. And clay is really hard. I can't even grow vegetables in clay. I have to have raised, beds with nice, soft, mulchy dirt. So there's that. And then it rains a lot here. So the best time to look for prints is in the spring or late fall when it's been raining, because that's when the ground softens up. Or around reservoirs in the summertime because the water dries up and it leaves the beach of the reservoirs real, uh, very uh, good for prints. Um, and then there's moss. Moss is pretty good for to get prints from. There's lots of moss. But then during the summer, the moss dies, it dries up and goes away because, it's so dry and hot. But also, one of the common types of ground in the Pacific Northwest is like this really, it's really thick, decayed matter that's like leaves and twigs and ferns and all this stuff. And you can even, it's been known that some people, you can step in it and you can just like fall right through it. That's common. So I've actually found prints, but they were like 2 feet deep into this stuff. You can't cast it. You take a picture of it and it doesn't look like anything. The only reason I knew a Sasquatch was standing there is because I saw it. So I went over the next day to look and I saw that it had left a print, but it was just like a deep kind of hole in this weird mulchy stuff. So, yeah, I mean, there's so many different kinds of ground types.
That kind of makes sense. And I guess I'm used to thinking like, the muddy ground, we step on it and there's
Yeah.
a little print here and a little print there because, we have a
Hmm.
little weight to our little bodies compared to
Hmm.
the giants that are out there. And
Yeah. I do find a lot of like impressions. You can see the impressions in the gravel, or you can see the impressions in the grass, you know? And it's pretty obvious because when they do step in the grass, it flattens it, and it will, like in the moss, for instance, when they step in the moss, it'll flatten, it'll kill it, it'll push it out of the way, it'll, do all this weird stuff, but it's not castable, because it's so thin. You can take a picture and you can hope that it turns out.
so that actually brings up an interesting question I have for you is I had a previous guest on in Oregon, and he talks about the Columbia River Gorge
Mhm.
and how there are actual newspaper articles in the 1940s because of the nuclear plant near there that cryptids were being created by the government, the Department of Energy, you know, put out a paper in the paper, don't approach a super croc that escaped from our facility. We're, modifying these so that they'll protect this asset of ours. And I was like, wow, they actually admitted to making cryptids. And so I can't help wondering, how many cryptids in our world were birthed there, and they spread out. And could Sasquatch be one of those that was a military created, super soldier type to protect something and it escaped? Because let's be honest, we can't bring one down in the 1940s. We don't have what we have today. And so it's like, you
Maybe. I
know,
mean, maybe something like that could have happened, like, um, like you said, like a super soldier or something, and maybe they have those weird new kind of powers of telepathy and traveling through portals and stuff like that. I don't think so though, and that it just simply because out here with the Indian tribes and even the tribes on the East Coast, I mean, there's just thousands of years of Sasquatch being in their stories that they tell. And in the totem poles up here in the Pacific Northwest, they're all over the place, in the petroglyphs, so I don't know, maybe a new kind of Sasquatch, you know maybe that's
or,
how we come up with all this weird stuff, these orbs, floating around and stuff. I don't know.
or the orbs may be the originals, and
Yeah,
the ones that can't go into orb form are we'll
the
call them
super soldier.
hybrid version.
Yeah, hybrid. There you go. Yeah. Yeah, totally. I believe that could have happened. Maybe. Why not? I mean, supposedly, so they have in the military now, they have the cloaking, um, whatever it is, the cloaking cloth, I guess you can call it.
Yeah,
So, and that it's been theorized that they've got that technology from aliens. Also, it's been theorized that they got it from Sasquatch, because like, what if Sasquatch is like a polar bear? The polar bear has it's like hollow fur or whatever. When the sun hits it, it kind of disappears. Like you can't see it for a minute, So,
that's true. It's one of the few animals that actually has that, and it would
yeah.
make sense why you could hear them walking around but not see them as
Yes.
they're wearing cloaked garb.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? That reminds me. So this past weekend we had our first Girls Gone Squatching event, right? So it's this really cool event that we came up with, that Sweet Home Sasquatch came up with, Girls Gone Squatching. So we went out, it was four of us girls, and um the first night nothing was going on. It was pretty quiet. you know we were just looking at old stuff and maybe a few new structures here and there. There'd been a windstorm this winter in January, so a lot of tree fall, um that we it's just you can't really tell if it's Sasquatch made or not. So we were hanging out. We all went to bed. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I heard something walking around outside our tent. And so the next morning I woke up. It only lasted about 5 minutes, and I really thought it was one of the girls using the bathroom. We set the potty tent up behind our tent. Um, And so I was asking everybody the next day, were you guys walking around the tent like by my head? And they're like, no, nope. We were sleeping. So the next night, same thing, except for Randy Schuett, one of my research partners. Her and I were sleeping in the same tent, and she said that she had woke up and she had heard the same thing. So the next day, we were all packing up and getting ready to leave. And my other partner, Jules, or Randy and Jules were talking, and Randy is like, I heard something walking around last night around our tent. And Jules she said, I heard something like hit the side of my truck really lightly because she was sleeping in her rig. And she said she heard something hit. And so she looked up and looked out, and she said she thought she saw something real big over by our tent. I was like, oh my God. So that happened. Talk
I,
about smoking,
yeah, and I like how something hits the truck, and her first comment is, I was looking over by you guys and had this over there. Me, I would be like checking out the vehicle.
Well, whatever it was, it like woke her up because she was sleeping. So
Yeah.
it's something hit her truck, and she just instinctively sat up and looked out the window towards our tent. And she saw something over by our tent. So,
No, that's really cool. And yeah, I mean, like
yeah.
I said, I'm the type of person that I think a lot of guys probably would agree with me that something hits the vehicle. We want to know if the vehicle's dented, drivable,
Oh, no.
and
No.
then be like, now we'll look at the surroundings. We're like,
Mm-hmm.
got to make sure the car is good.
Yeah. She said the minute she saw it, she said she laid back down and covered her head with her blanket.
Yeah, I wouldn't be opening the door just in case.
No, no, not me.
No, and I don't know if we talked about this on the first episode or not, but I was watching earlier this afternoon a movie with my mom that had these grizzly bears,
Mhm.
and I could easily, see a grizzly bear walking on his two legs would not, in my mind, ever look like a Sasquatch. But I wonder though, with like kids, would they be able to make the distinguishment? And so, could a lot of the tales, and I don't mean to make it sound like kids are lying, but they don't understand maybe yet, say like a 5 year old's not going to go, oh, look, grizzly bear. They're going to
Mhm.
say there's something tall and hairy out there. And so parents are going to go, Sasquatch? And maybe not bear. And so could, that be some of the claims and why some people, are like, they're really prolific here, but no evidence, no structure, no like X's are in the area. But
Mhm.
yet, a lot of reports. Could that be what it is? Is a misidentification?
Absolutely. I believe that. Yeah, I think a lot of things are misidentified. Bears, and then if you think about it too, like what was that one kid? That little kid over, I think it was in Tennessee, where he went missing, and he came back and said that a big bear took care of him while he was gone. And he was only what, like 3 or something? So, instinct, like he thought it was a bear. Like when I was a kid and I would have the dreams of Sasquatch, at first I didn't know it was Sasquatch. I didn't know what it was, and I didn't know how to describe it or how to explain it because I didn't understand it. So I just thought it was like a boogeyman, you know? So I don't know. Maybe. I mean, a lot of it's probably misidentification. Like with Dogman, I don't think, my personal opinion is I don't think it's Dogman. I think it's a misidentification of a baboon faced Sasquatch. you know? But
Could
I
be.
haven't. Huh?
I said it could be, or a dog face Sasquatch that we just haven't
Yeah.
identified yet.
Well, baboon makes more sense to me because baboon's a primate. You know what I mean? So if Sasquatch really is from the primate family, then why wouldn't it have a relative that looks like a baboon, you know?
Yeah. I was just thinking like the facial structure, more like you would could look at it and go, "Is that a dog face?"
Yeah.
Even though it's not, and that's where I was going with dog
Gotcha.
face.
Yeah. Sorry.
But and another interesting theory I have is, I'm about to make a movie reference here, so everyone just bear with me.
Mhm.
So there there was the movie Star Trek Insurrection,
Mhm.
where they had an outpost in the side of a mountain in the rocks where it was cloaked so it looked like the face of the mountain. And they're watching these people walking amongst them with cloaked clothing, observing to see if, they're ready to, be added, as an asset to the Federation or not. Well, where I'm going with this is, could the Sasquatch be like a race, say, from Sirius, and they have little outposts around, like, say, Tennessee, Oregon, and so they're walking amongst studying us to see if we're ready to join out there, and or we're the ones thinking we're the intelligent ones observing everything, and it's really they're the intelligent ones observing us.
Yeah, why not? Why not? I know a lot of people who are, animate about them being, um, like you can't see them with your eyes, and like being always cloaked and you know, like only showing themselves to certain people, specific people, like they have all these abilities and stuff. I mean, I can't, we don't know. So that's just another theory that we need to really explore.
What's interesting is I had a reading with a medium when I was a teenager trying to get answers to things in life that were just I was having knowledge of, but I didn't know what the knowledge was and what it was for.
Hmm.
And when you said our eyes just can't see them, it clicked a phrase that they told me, and they said, "You will understand this when you learn to see with eyes unseen." And I was like, what in the world are eyes unseen? What and now it's like, now I think about it, I'm like, oh, I can see the energy and see a cloaked energy walked by. That would be unseen, and so I'm seeing the unseen.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I'm curious with your interactions, because I know you've had a few experiences. I know there are some people who talk about like the national parks where people disappear, that it's could be bears, could be Sasquatch, but I don't know that I give any credence to the thought that why would a Sasquatch kidnap a human? They're been amongst us all this time. Why now would they start taking people?
I don't know.
I mean, do you have any thoughts of, yeah, that could be possible, or no, that sounds totally anti?
I mean, I've I've heard I've taken a lot of reports of people who have really aggressive encounters with them. Um, and it seems that that pattern is it's usually hunters and it's usually during hunting season and they have weapons. um
Bless you.
Sorry. I have I have allergies, so and the tree pollen in Oregon right now is super high. So I have these, it's my nose and everything else. But anyways, I think that uh I don't know. I there's just not enough information to be able to make an opinion about something like that right now.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, can I excuse myself for just a moment? I'm so
sure.
sorry.
And when she comes back, I have a interesting theory that kind of fits the world we're in right now that I'm kind of interested to see her thoughts around that and if that's a possibility or not. But meanwhile, I'm going to take a drink myself. I haven't had any water in a little bit. And if anyone watching has a question about Sasquatch or a theory that you want to ask Michelle about, you are welcome to put it in the chat room and we will address as many as we can. And we might actually be jumping to another topic still within the Sasquatch realm too in a little bit. So let me know if you have any questions.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Now, I have an interesting theory for you that kind of goes with the world we live in right now.
Uh,
Talking about like Sasquatch that's taking the kids in the parks, if it is them, could it be someone making themselves look like Sasquatch so that people will start to become afraid of Sasquatch?
hmm. I don't know. I don't know why why we should be afraid of them. I mean, it's really rare to see one, you know? It's so
Yeah.
and um it's it's not like I mean, we see Sasquatch less than we see bears in the wild, you know? So it just seems kind of I don't know. I don't know if I'm on board with that yet, you know? So
Yeah.
we could be more afraid of them. I mean, I think people are afraid of them anyways, you know?
Well, but I'm meaning like, so if a UFO was to land and an alien come out, how many movies have we had to where we've been programmed to shoot first and be like, we just saved the planet from an invasion when they could have been coming to say, hey, we have this technology we want to share with you.
Right.
And so I'm thinking, as you have like, um, is it ESETI? No. Yeah, the ranch in Oregon that's doing a lot of stuff with talking about Sasquatch and UFO activity
Mhm.
and connecting with it and Mount Shasta. If they're like, hey, this is becoming a more almost mainstream. Now we're talking about Sasquatch and everyone's going out. Well, if we find out they're friendly and everything, then what's going to happen to the people who are the powers that be. And that's why I think, would they go to the lengths so that you don't want to meet a Sasquatch, and that you would be like, oh no, Sasquatch is going to rip my arms off, like, or something, and be like, no, and kind of suppress it and put it back, like almost like a genie in the bottle again.
Yeah.
That's where I'm going with it, and thinking, because it breaks their narrative, and then it starts to open other doors and
Yeah.
other thoughts, and so they're like, ooh, gotta nix that one.
Yeah. I don't know. I've never thought about that before. Like there's a very small group of people who are like, "Oh, fuzzy, cute little Sasquatch." You know what I mean? Like I'm not afraid of Sasquatch anymore. I'm more afraid of like bears and cougars and stuff. But like I said, it's so rare to see one, like I'm probably one of the luckiest people in the world to have 3 sightings in one summer. I could go the rest of my life now and never see another one. I mean, look at Pete Burns. Pete Burns searched for Sasquatch for so long. He never had a sighting. He never saw one. And he's been to Nepal. He's been all over the world looking for Sasquatch, you know? So um I think a lot of people there's a lot of hoaxing going on. Um like, with this thing that happened in Ohio not too long ago. Um I kind of feel like that's given me the vibe that maybe that wasn't real. Maybe somebody saw one. And so all of a sudden, like this mass hysteria started. And they're all like, oh, we saw, this one and this one. And all of a sudden there's like 8 or 10 sightings. I don't know. That doesn't sit well with me, you know?
I agree, and I kind of want to, if you don't mind, kind of tweak the conversation to something that you talk about in your bio a little bit, and was a topic that you had brought up, and that is that you get communication through dreams. Now,
Yeah.
I'm kind of wondering, is it, possible with your experiences with Sasquatch, being open to the energies and being attuned with the land and everything, could that have opened your awareness to where you see messages in your dreams, or did that happen before all of this?
Well, the mediumship started when I was probably about 15. In fact, I can remember the first time I had a dream about a loved one who had passed, and spoke to them. So I started having the dreams of Sasquatch when I was 5. I think sometimes I wonder if uh, maybe Sasquatch gave me that ability. It's possible. I don't know. You know, it's not out of the question. Why would I have dreams about Sasquatch and then all of a sudden have mediumship? You know, why would I be able to assist people into heaven or their heaven using Reiki? You know, like it's all connected. I don't know exactly how or what started it. I mean, I think that maybe I've had past lives with Sasquatch, for some reason or another, that this has been traveling with me from lifetime to lifetime because my original dream was set in an old setting. There was hand pump water and old fixtures and, oil lamps and stuff like that. So um, maybe it started in the 1800s, you know, in a
Hmm.
past life, and it just kind of it's followed me over, and maybe now, um, I don't know, it's all kind of um, everything's connecting for me, and maybe in my next life I'm going to be like this powerful sorceress,
When the Earth goes back into the Stone Age.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious too, with having the mediumship, having the dreams, Reiki. I wonder, like you're saying, if everything's connected, what would be like the zero point that started it all? And if
Yeah.
there's an encounter that your mind keeps from you because it's like, yeah, if you're, say, 2 years old and, Sasquatch, was carrying you, back to the safety of your family, it's like,
Hmm.
that could traumatize someone. And so the mind's like, okay, we're going to wipe this out, but we're going to take all the benefit, but we just will wipe the encounter.
Yeah. Maybe. I mean, I heard of somebody recently, I can't remember his name, but his experience was he had an encounter when he was very young, and the Sasquatch wiped his memory, and then later on as he got older, he remembered, and I can't remember if he went to a hypnotist or not, as something like something triggered that memory, and then he remembered again that, he had had this experience, and now he's able to, channel um the a Sasquatch. So I don't know. I That's what I'm trying to find out. I'm trying to find out, like, why why is this happening to me, and how did it start, and where's it going to go, and what's going on,
And
This is a
something
journey.
it is, and something else that's interesting that a lot of people don't know about is Oregon is not exactly next to, but it's really close to the Grand Canyon, which also is close to the ranches that all have like Skinwalker, Blind Frog, the Bradshaw. Those are all in area, and they're all, and Oregon is near Nevada,
Mhm.
and so I can't help wondering with what's been found in the Grand Canyon that's controversial and against history and would cause us to have to rewrite history. But could that be why Sasquatch and other cryptids are hanging around that area because of all that hidden ancient knowledge and tech that's there?
You're gonna don't laugh at me, but I haven't even heard about that yet. This the I haven't heard about the Grand Canyon stuff.
So
What is
I'll
going
tell you
on
real.
down there?
So what it is there's an area in the Grand Canyon that's a cave system that is marked off limits, and it's military markings saying you cannot enter here, and there's like a no fly zone over it. You can't take any vehicles into it. It's like completely isolated area in the Grand Canyon. And what early reports that were in papers before all the ability to, erase the internet and everything was there were Egyptian statues there and
Oh,
other type of markings that they were like, this is pre-Egyptian, but the fact that we found Egyptian statues and writing in the Grand Canyon is why they're like, we had to rewrite our history because Egyptians were here, which is BC time frame, and America wasn't supposed to have anybody in the West at that point.
But were they Egyptians, or are Egyptians really aliens? You know what I
That's
mean?
Yeah, and that's the
Like,
question, is
yeah.
because some of what's there they can't identify, but
Hmm.
they know it's Egyptian because of other things there, but they're like, this could be a totally different culture here as well. But yeah, the fact that Egypt was here in America in the BC is like, everyone's like, no, that can't be true. I'm like, why? We have the runes, we have Rome, we have everybody else was over here.
Yeah, I
Phoenicians,
mean, Scott Walther didn't he wrote a book about the
Knights
the
Templars.
Knights Templar being in the United States. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. The Vikings and everybody else. Leif Erikson, he's got like his signature on a rock in Massachusetts or something, you know.
Well, and the Mississippi Valley is the back of a Phoenician coin,
Oh yeah,
perfectly mapped.
right.
And somebody that was a scientist, his name is George Mitrovic, was talking about, and he wrote some books about it, that when we had the Bronze Age and everybody needed copper, there wasn't enough copper in the known world at that time to do it. So where did it come from? Well, America has the largest copper deposits. So they
Michigan
were
came from
mining,
Michigan.
yeah, they were mining America through the Mississippi River, hence the Phoenician coin,
Yeah,
telling
that, and
everybody.
then also through the St. Lawrence Seaway, they came down to the Great Lakes and went up to Michigan and mined it from there. I
So
believe that.
yeah, so we actually have had culture here in the BC, so that makes us as old as the rest of the world. But
Yeah.
our history books want to tell us we've only been a couple hundred to 3, 4, maybe 500 years old.
Yeah, because at that time, this was the New World.
Yeah,
This was known as the New World. It was untouched, you know. Yeah.
and it was on the Peary's Reese map. And so, how did they know about it before Columbus and everybody?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's
that's what's interesting. And I know we're a little bit over the hour, and I know you're dealing with your throat. Do you
yeah.
want to continue and talk some more, or do you want to give your throat a rest?
Yeah, I'm fine. It's not my throat, it's my nose is running.
Oh, okay.
So so I had to go like blow my nose and clear my sinuses. It's allergies and they make me cough because my it's itchy and my throat is itchy and everything. So
Oh, I thought
but
that was
yeah,
a Sasquatch call earlier.
I know. I'm so sorry. I'm so embarrassed. But
No,
yeah,
we didn't hear. I was just being funny. We didn't hear it.
I'm
You were
good.
muted.
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, we can go a little bit longer for sure.
Okay. So, how did you start looking at dreams and becoming aware of like messages inside the dreams that were meant for people?
Um, it's really interesting because for the longest time, since I was 15, I've talked to people in my dreams. And also for the longest time, I believed that it was just a way for me um, to mourn properly, like that was how I mourned. I felt bad because these people who I loved were gone. And that's how I stayed connected to them, was through my dreams. But uh, things occasionally would happen that, like, say, for instance, my best friend Angel, she had passed away, and she would come and talk to me occasionally. So she came to me one night and we were talking about, girl stuff. And I asked her, I said, "So why are you here? Why'd you come?" And she goes, "I came to get mom." And I was like, "Oh, okay. That's kind of weird, but all right." And so I woke up the next morning and my phone, I had a bunch of texts that her mother had passed away that morning. So, it was just kind of like my own little validation that this is real, that these messages are real. My friend, and I didn't know it, he had a sister that passed away, and I had a dream about her. It had been a couple of months since I had seen him or talked to him. And she had passed away from like cancer, I think, or something. And they both came to me. He came to me in my dream, but he was living. And then he kind of brought her in, and she came in and gave me a message to give to him. And so after that, I was like, I don't understand because they're both living. And so I relayed the message and had found out that his sister had passed away like 2 months earlier. So, but it had been a long time since I talked to him, so I didn't know it. Um, so I think it finally dawned on me when I was like 40, that this is this is real and it's okay for me to start talking about it, because it's like everything is just, it's a validation now. It doesn't happen to me all the time, and it's weird because it happens when I'm napping, as opposed to like when I'm in the middle of the night when I'm sleeping. So like a lot of times I wake up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. That's usually when I wake up. And then I'll go back to sleep at like 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the morning and sleep until 9 or 10. But I've always done that. I've always taken like a 3 or 4 hour nap, woke up, stayed up for 4 hours, went back to bed, take a 3 or 4 hour nap. And so it happens during those weird nappy times, you know? Um, and so I thought too that maybe because it's theorized that Einstein and Edgar Cayce and like Tesla and all these other people, when they slept for really short periods of time, and they got a lot of information during that time. So they're tapping into something. They're tapping into the subconscious part, whatever the Akashic records, or, whatever it is, they're tapping into it. Steve Jobs even did it. So maybe that's something that we as mediums, or, people who do light work in their sleep, maybe that we're tapping into the same kind of thing, and it happens. That's how it happens. So that's something that I'm trying to figure out too, is like, I ask people a lot, like mediums and psychics and stuff, like, how's your sleep, you know like do you get a lot of messages while you're sleeping? Because it's something that I want to know. I'm always just trying to discover more about myself and my abilities and where they came from and how I got them, because I think that the more that I understand that, the more I'll be able to control it, because right now I can't. Like I can't control any of it. It just happens when it happens, and that's all there is to it. I got so many friends, they're like, well, like talking to Sasquatch, you have to ask them for this, and you have to ask them for that and everything. I'm like, I do every day, and they don't answer me. And then all of a sudden one day I'll just get like this, like they'll say something, or kind of like like a thought. They'll give me this thought or something. It's like kind of like a forced thought. It's really strange. But yeah, I don't know.
I wonder if they're giving you like little symbolic messages and you're not seeing it, and so they're like,
Mhm.
she's not getting it. She's not getting it. Bring out that cosmic 2x4. Then she'll get it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I know. Well, I have ADHD too. It runs in my family with the females in my family. And so I have that. And I'm wondering if that doesn't work as like an obstacle, you know?
I don't know. I kind of get the feeling, like, well, let's take Sasquatch for an example. If he wants to give you a message, I don't think he's going to sit there and go, I can travel through portals, but man, this ADHD has got me stumped. I just can't make my way through that thing, man.
I
They
know.
did good creating that one.
It's so funny because when I do get messages from Sasquatch, which is not very often, it's only happened a few times. I'm trying, but it's almost like it's like tuning a radio. Like that's what it feels like or what it sounds like. It's like staticky and it's just I'm not I'm kind of on that frequency almost, but it's so weird. It's really weird.
It
It freaks
is.
me out sometimes still. It freaks me out when I still have dreams about mediumship. The thing that really helped me was meditating, right? Um, and also when I learned Reiki, because originally I had learned Reiki because I had a postpartum depression. And so I wanted to heal myself. And so I did that, and I did yoga, and I meditated a lot, and so the meditation helped the Reiki, and then I started getting actually it started with one phone call right after I got certified as a Reiki master. One of my really good friends from Michigan called me, and she said my husband is terminally ill and I want you to do Reiki on him. He's passing. And I said, I would absolutely love to do that for you and for him. And so I just sat down and I started meditating. I did my, Reiki, the introduction to the Reiki, and then I started meditating and I was instantly just with him, and I could see her in the room. Like I was with him and I could see her and everything. It just kind of, I don't know, it was like this really crazy blessing, And at
Mhm.
first I thought it was just luck, but then it happened again and it happened again. And I was like, wow, this is super powerful. What an amazing gift, you know?
Yeah, and Randy Chouette, 1438. I hope I'm
Randy,
pronouncing
that's
your
my
name right.
partner, yo. She's my Sasquatch partner.
He's asking, what about telepathic abilities? And yes, I can read that.
Yeah, I don't know. My telepathic abilities are weird. It's like they're like I said, it's not they come and go, and I can meditate and not get any telepathy. But what I do have though is clairvoyance. So I can see things like when we go out into the forest. Um, that first time I remember I've been seeing things my whole life, and I used to always just think that they were just shadows and they were not there, and I was making it up in my head and all this other stuff. Um, but for we went out and I found those prints, and I remember when I found that there was a whole line of prints. There was like 50 of them, and it went all the way down this really long trail. And I like instantly I started thinking to myself, where did they come from? Like where were they coming from when this happened? What was going on? And I turned around and I looked up this other trail, and I literally could see them running down this trail and around the curve and jumping over the concrete barrier and then following the path down the trail. And I was wow, like it was real, like I could see them. So I told my friend, and he's like, no, no, they came from over there. I said, no, I'm pretty sure they came from up there. I just saw them, like I envisioned it. And then, so I took my other friend up there a couple days later, and we went up that trail. I said, Eric, they came from here, from this way. And we went up there, and lo and behold, there's like footprints up there in the moss too, coming down. So I saw it happen, you know. But that's the clairvoyance is what I have. I don't have the telepathy.
Well, I don't know, because part of me, is thinking, Sasquatch, we don't hear their language often.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking because they're telepathic. And so maybe they telepathically gave you that image and said, here we were walking. And so that's the
Maybe.
telepathic bond. And other people are, starting to wake up and are like almost to the point to where they're like, hey, you were just in my head. Were you thinking about me, or, were you wanting to ask me a question?
Mm-hmm.
Or they'll be like, hey, I heard you ask this question. Here's the answer. And so we're learning now that we actually have telepathic capabilities. And so
Yeah.
maybe that's, part of your mediumship is, hey, how much different is getting a mediumship message versus a telepathic message. And so your mind and your abilities are like, hey, we're working with you to create that link, and that's why you have so many sightings and
Yeah.
see so much, is because they're telepathically going, hey, Michelle, look down. And you're like, hey, look, there's a footprint.
Yeah, I can believe that for sure, because I every time I have a sighting, I see an owl also beforehand, before the sighting. And there's certain things that happen, that would, like you said, make me look down, and see a footprint, or look up and see a tree break, twist, or something, you know. It
Yeah.
makes sense. I'm so, all the time. Like it says, the ADHD, I'm just like, what? Okay, yeah, that's, whatever. Wow.
Well, then, we we live in a cultural system where having that much awareness, they're like, yeah, we need to drug that down. That's too much. But in actuality, I think that's where we're headed, is being hyper aware of our environment and connecting with all the energies around. And so we need to get up our level of focus and not
I
be.
I tell you what, Michael, I am so hyper aware. It's like what I'm really good at is reading people's energy, like reading the room, you know? I could look at somebody and I could feel it, and I just instantly know what their energy is telling me, you know? It's a gift I've always had, and I'm really, really good at it. It's probably my favorite gift, because it really, it gives me a lot of insight.
My mind went to the famous thing of, if you grew up in the 80s, 70s,
Mhm.
maybe even the 60s, you would see a lot when somebody would say, oh, we're watching, and they would quickly like cover up something and be like, hey, no peeking.
Right? Yeah. I used to think dead people could see me naked.
I would always go. I would have the mindset: if you're following me in the bathroom, that's your own fault.
Yes.
You are well aware what happens here, so you are at this point. I'll use the term buyer beware. Doesn't count to you because you know. So you have opted in for that experience.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. Oh my God. I remember I would just like, I would shut the bathroom door and lock it, and then I just stay covered, like, get into the shower, drop my towel.
Yeah. I always find that funny that people are like, oh my God, there's a ghost running wild. Quick, get in this room and close the door.
Uh, well, I know, right?
Like, what is the door going to do? Like, oh man, they learned to close that door.
You
God,
know
if only I
what
could turn that handle.
what really upsets me, I have to say this is one of my pet peeves, is that if you're going hunting for ghosts, why are you afraid? You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me at all. I've seen ghosts since I was a child. Like, ghosts are the least scariest thing to me in the world. Like when
Yeah,
people run from them and they're like, ah, and I'm just like,
yeah, it is. So, with that, on that note, where can people get a hold of you if they have any other questions about Sasquatches or Reiki, mediumship, dream
all the
communication?
mystical stuff. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm on Facebook, obviously, Michelle Heaton on Facebook. And also, I have the Sweet Home Sasquatch page. I shortened the name. It used to be Sweet Home Oregon Sasquatch Research Group, which is like a huge mouthful. So I got tired of telling everybody that. So I shortened it to Sweet Home Sasquatch. So that's it. That's just Sweet Home Sasquatch on Facebook. It's a private group, and also on YouTube as well. We don't have a lot of videos right now, but that's going to change because I just got a whole bunch of really cool equipment. I got FLIR, I got night vision, I got GoPro.
Man,
Yeah, I'm doing it up this summer.
well, that'll be something to watch.
Yeah, I'm excited to use the FLIR. I already got something on the FLIR that was pretty cool. I posted it in the group, so yeah.
Yeah, so thank you for coming back on and sharing with us more of your stories and adventures.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure, Michael. I hope I can come back.
Oh, for sure. And from my heart and the heart of my shows to you, thank you for what you're doing for not only humanity, but for Sasquatch and all the other energies around.
Thank you.
So I hope your allergies get cleared up and your nose
Thanks.
gives you a break and so you can sleep and
They'll go away in October.
oh, that's not too far away. There's something to look forward to.
Right?
7 months later, hey, my nose has finally stopped.
Hey, that's the Pacific Northwest for you.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
true.
Yep.
All right, well, be well and many grand adventures to you. And we are going to say good night and thank you again. And everyone, have a wonderful week. And wow, tomorrow is April. So be prepared for the April showers.
And the April Fools.
I actually have a show tomorrow, so no fooling.
Namaste.
Namaste. Good night, everyone.